There are concerns that the ongoing water restrictions in Gauteng could impact hospitals and schools in the province. Joburg Water says that the system is under pressure with demand consistently exceeding supply. Now, last week, Rand Water issued a 20% water restriction notice to municipalities across Gauteng. These include Johannesburg, Ekurhuleni and Tshwane. Now, Rand Water COO Mahlomola Mehlo joins us now from the city of Tshwane. Mr. Mehlo, thank you very much for your time. We have quite a bit to get through, so very quickly for us, talk to us about the 20% water restrictions. What prompted this? I know that in the intro we're talking about the demand that is outstripping supply, but surely this would not have arisen recently. Is this something that has long been in the pipeline, so to speak?
Good morning, Butoli. Good morning to the viewers at home. Indeed, the system is experiencing some challenges, and that is precisely owing to the higher demands, which at the moment is also exacerbated by the fact that we are going into the summer season. Ordinarily, the consumption patterns would tend to go a bit up during this season. So what prompted the curtailments from our side is the fact that we have to observe our operation philosophy, which dictates that our reservoir storage levels should be maintained at between 60 and 80% at all times. And this is for precisely to ensure that, firstly, we supply other areas who are dependent on the hydraulic head from our reservoirs. But secondly, it's also to ensure that as we have infrastructure failures, maybe as a result of power outages, we're able to attend to any infrastructure failure without necessarily affecting our customers for a prolonged period of time.
All right, let's then pick up on the reservoir levels. Where are they at the moment? You're saying ordinarily, or should I say ideally, they should be at 60, 70% capacity. Where are they now?
At the moment, our reservoirs are picking up petroleum. When we started with the curtailments, they were sitting at around 30%. By this morning, we are reporting recovery of about 10%. We're sitting at around 40%. We are on an upward trajectory. We've done load shifting. And as soon as we hit the 60% to the 70% mark, we would then wish to maintain those reservoir levels going forward.
The restrictions, therefore, Mr. Mehlo, we are talking about 20% water restrictions. Does that mean that some areas are going to go without water? If so, for how long?
Not at all, actually. The curtailments are not designed in such a way that there should be areas that are without water. At any given time, we are saying as Rand Water, we are producing enough water to supply everyone. The unfortunate incidents that we have witnessed in some parts of Johannesburg and some part of Tshwane is as a result of having disturbed the system. But ordinarily, this is a water system. When you disturb it, it will take time, but it will stabilize. As we speak now, the system is stabilizing. The areas that were initially without water, there was quite a few of them, even in Ekurhuleni, but we are monitoring with our counterparts in the municipalities, and we can report that we've seen lesser and lesser complaints from those areas. So it is...
Go on, sir.
Yes, so I was just saying it is not designed to starve water to any area.
All right. You talk about the disturbance of the system. So the areas that have been without water, much to the frustration of residents, the system, Rand water systems, have been disturbed there. When you say disturbed, what exactly happened?
Okay, firstly, let me just explain, Victoria, that a water system, the value chain that we're referring to here, has got three parts in the main. You've got the source, which is under the custodianship of the National Department. You have the rainwater infrastructure, which abstracts the water, purifies the water, and distributes in bulk to the customers. And the customers, which are municipalities in this case, will distribute the water. So in this instance, we're talking about the rainwater system as well as the systems that would belong to the municipalities. The sort of disturbance that we're talking about is, firstly, when we curtail, the purpose at the moment is to recover the reservoir levels. So when we curtail, we have to firstly shift the load to ensure that the load is distributed equitably. But secondly, we have to ensure that there is a reduced consumption pattern from the customer side. So we will therefore go into our rainwater systems and throttle those systems so that it reduces the amount of water that goes into, especially areas that we know that historically there's a lot of wastage in those. I must also state, Victoria, that this happens in consultation with the customers themselves. So in this instance, we would have consulted with City of Ekurhuleni and Tshwane and Joburg, and that would have been followed by formal correspondence that indicates that we are going to start with the implementation of these curtailments at such and such a period. So the engagement as well as the correspondence is so that we give enough time to our customers to also look at what they can do on their side and what sort of plans they can put in place.
Mr. Mehlo, you talk about consulting communities whenever there is going to be such a disturbance. Some people completely frustrated, as I mentioned earlier. It would appear that your messages clearly are not getting through some or to some communities. How certain are you that you have communicated adequately?
Butoli, we are certain that we've communicated. We communicate not directly to the customers, as our customer is a municipality. So we engage the officials from the municipality with the hope and an understanding that they will also carry the same messages to the customers who are in their own distributions.
So basically what you're saying, sorry to disturb, what you're saying is that if any customer or if any community is suffering water restrictions as opposed to shortages, a complete cutoff, that community is not being communicated to by its respective municipality, whether it be Joburg, Ekurhuleni or Tshwane. You're saying municipalities are not communicating. They are the ones at fault, yes?
No, not at all, Butoli. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that the communication channels that we follow is in such a way that we communicate to the municipalities. They also communicate to their customers. We also track the communications from the municipalities to their customers. We have a stakeholder and communications forum which has been established, which discusses these issues on a daily basis. So we know that the municipalities do communicate to their customers because most of that communication is informed by what we are doing on the upstream side.
The impact of power shortages on the supply of water. So, simply put, electricity problems that then affect the supply of water. You've mentioned that your infrastructure at times gets disturbed as a result of this. That also, though, would talk to the infrastructure itself, the water infrastructure. How old is it?
Ordinarily, Butoli, we would experience outages and you would also experience failures of infrastructure. This is a huge infrastructure we're talking about, by the way, which is interconnected. We're talking kilometers and kilometers of pipelines. over 60 reservoirs in number, which are also huge. So on a daily basis, we go through these failures. We attend to them, but you also would have incidents that would be major in certain instances. Power outage is one such incident that when we have a power outage, we are not able to pump water out. So as soon as we experience a power outage, we have to have our power suppliers on board, which in the main is Eskom, and in certain metros we are supplied by the metros themselves. And unfortunately, we rely on our power suppliers to be able to restore power almost immediately. But we know this, of course, as rainwater, and previously we have communicated that we have plans that are currently being implemented that are looking at increasing the power supply in our networks. Of course, making sure then that we've got backup generators. We are looking at projects such as your hydro, where we will be generating our own power to be able to supply our stations with the power that is necessary.
Final question, Mr. Mehlo, and very briefly, if you can, please. The frustrated communities that are sitting without water for a number of days now, they say, frustrated enough, in fact, to march to your offices. What's your message to them?
My message to them, Victoria, is that we've taken that to heart, really. In fact, we released a statement yesterday indicating that our reservoir should recover overnight. As I speak to you now, we're checking those levels every hour. I've just checked. The water is flowing into that reservoir, so the city of Johannesburg through Joburg Water will be starting the pumps very soon. So by the end of today, those areas would have been restored.
Thank you very much for your time. Rainwater COO Mahlomola Mehlo giving us an update there on the water situation. Perhaps if you do not have water by the end of the day today, it might be worth you just sending us perhaps a tweet to our Twitter handle here at Newzroom Afrika and tell us that indeed water has returned, or perhaps it hasn't, and we'll follow up.